Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Last Days of Europe with me, Alpha Mega, and the Empire of Japan. So in the last episode we tracked the mysterious murderer back to Republic of Indonesia, and I really do wonder where this story is going to lead us, because so far game-wise it has been fairly peaceful. We're about to finish minimizing expenditures, and then we can either fudge the numbers or adjust the budget. Well, okay, we can increase the construction speed again, or fudge the numbers, which would deal with efficiency. We can get Industrial Freedoms Act to the diet, conservative relations, and we spend here. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna go with fudge the numbers and then expand well-being first. Even though this one, the construction speed would be pretty good, it wouldn't, benefit us all that more. And I'm afraid of the relations with our, other parties a little bit more than anything else. Okay, so our office coverage is getting a little bit better. We're getting a little bit more political power, but I think we're going to continue boosting that, because believe it or not, we do really need to get more political power. So building it. Okay, we can only put one here, one here, one here, and one here. These are the very populous regions, so they should give us a bit more of an effect. Oh, actually, I wanted to check the interaction with the military, because the paranoia is very high, 51%. I guess is something that we really should keep in mind. Okay, we can encourage inter-service war games, which would cost 50 political power and 50 command power, and would give us a little bit of support for both IJN and IJA, and lower paranoia by 25%. Fight inter-service corruption. Inter-service training program. Okay, I think we're gonna encourage the inter-service war games. That seems like the best possible choice. So let's do that one once we have 50 political power. And we have... oh, we just got... yes, because it's 1st of September, we just got probably an update to our economy. We got more units. So I'm gonna put all of these on civilian infrastructure. You want to build it, and deputy GDP is down to 100.1%. God damn it, I was really hoping we would break the 99% mark, but real GDP growth is going up, yearly surplus is going up as well. Debt servicing is still at 3.9 billion, but it's fine. We're no longer generating more debt, we're repaying it actually, which is great. So all is well for us. We can, stave it off a little bit longer. So we are minimizing expenditures. Now we're gonna fudge the numbers. Some parts of the budget are unappealing. If the Diet or the public see any of these concerning figures in part of the budget and economic data, there will be unrest, and the Kokutai will be in severe danger. In order to avoid this, we shall discreetly change some of the statistics in order to maintain absolute stability in Japan. After all, knowing them will only worsen the lives of the people and bring a malaise to the Yamato spirit. Great. Lie to the people. That's definitely gonna make things better. Okay, now let me see. I actually wanted to check if we can do something with these admirals. One of them we've already dealt with the first Kantai, Admiral Tanako Raizo. What about you? Ito Seichi. Lone Wolf, and that's all. Okay, so we can give you the Lone Wolf. I'm not gonna go with the smoke screen specialist though. What about you, Kurito Takeo? Okay, we're just gonna penalize the enemy size. And Kajioka Sedamichi, leading the 4th Fleet. spotter. Okay, concealment expert might be a good one for this. But that's all there is to that. And we got 59. We need to save it for the inter-service games. We need 50 for that. Political power is nice. Compromises and powder kegs. Anyone missing a grenade? Securing the first set of files from the firm grasp of the army had been difficult. It paled in comparison to the effort to retrieve the most recent files. Every single day some new issue was raised that ground the investigation's progress to a halt. Every single day some new form needed to be filled out or some official needed to be corresponded with. A detective would submit a request form one day, only for it to be returned a few days later, with a note stating a list of departments the form needed to be sent to simultaneously in order for it to be considered. All along the way, representatives from the army scrutinized the investigation and their motives. They cited potential issues in security and demanded to know the relevance of and justification for retrieving the files. But finally, with the endless trading of paperwork reaching a stalemate, an agreement was reached. Detective Tachi and his fellow detectives would be granted access to the files in a secure room at the IJA Regional Staff Headquarters in central Tokyo. They would not be permitted to remove the files, but they would be allowed to record any information they deemed relevant, while under supervision, of course. Early the next morning, Tachi and his partner strode through the door of the HQ, each with a small stack of notebooks under their arms. 6 hours later, they re-emerged. 6 months ago, Takahara Ryo enrolled in an explosives certification training course. The primary purpose of this course was to groom soldiers stationed through the co-prosperity sphere for anti-insurgent units specializing in IED identification and defusal. Takahara had never expressed interest in joining such a unit, both before and after he undertook the training. Clearly, the team concluded the only motivation he had to take this course was in preparation for planting the corpse bomb discovered during the initial investigation. I was just about to say that was linked now to him, because he was the guy who blew up that corpse and that ambulance. But why? They had provided the necessary skills intentionally. It was also clear that the army had played some role in this case. They had provided the necessary skills, intentionally or otherwise. Now it was time to see if they had provided the equipment. Anyone missing a grenade? A hospital call. Hayashi leaned his bike towards his home, a hut made out of wood close to the sea. Letting the walls support it from falling, he took his glasses from his shirt pocket and looked into the sea, where the sun was halfway across the horizon. The electric lights, strung like a pearl necklace, began turning on faint but evanescent against the incandescence. Waves slapped the grey sand of the coast with pieces of wet flotsam strewn across its surface. When his eyes passed through the lenses, he saw the world. The blobs and blotches became sharp, defined, the miracles of modern science. He thought that there was nothing wrong with his eyes, up until his local doctor recommended him an optician. Wearing his first pair of spectacles was an experience, a discovery. He had never seen the world as clearly as he did under the eaves of 2 concave lenses. "Father?" a voice said from the inside. "Are you there?" The doorknob turned and Takeshi stepped out, the last shreds of sunlight dying on the slopes of his chin. A plain-faced young man whose work in the dirty marketplace concealed a brilliant mind. A scholarship. In Tokyo. Hayashi was proud. This kid would go far. "There you are," Takeshi said, smiling, trying to hide the worrisome gleam in his eyes. "How was the catch?" "Rough," Hayashi said, downcast. "We'll have enough, however." The situation had become awkward. "Well," Takeshi stammered, "Akane is in the hospital." Hayashi's eyes widened. The 17-year-old Akane, at the cusp of her youth, had to lie in hospital bed, afflicted with illness. Straightening his bike, Hayashi said to his son, "I won't be home for dinner tonight." What illness? Is that a memory of the detective? Kinda interesting. Sidestep. Our stability increased. Is it because we're rolling the depth? Or of any other reason? A diagnosis. Hayashi, the doctor said, his words clad in clinical concern, as spick and span as his lab coat. Please follow me to my room. We need to discuss the specifics of Akane-chan's situation. Hayashi was familiar with such demeanor. The medic in his old platoon often carried the same wary and stoic expression whenever he had to convey bad news. So the father was in the army. Okay. Trailing behind the doctor, Hayashi glanced at past the windows and the high silhouettes that blocked his view to the sea. The chemical factory, one of Minamata's proudest centers of employment, loomed, its waste pipes directed coastward. Entering the doctor's room, they sat down across one another. The doctor sat behind his desk, pulling a file out of a drawer. Monochrome's photograph seemed to spill out of the manila-covered cover. "I'm sure," the doctor said, "that you have seen Akane-chan's symptoms over the last few weeks. Stammered words, uneven gait, and strange convulsions. Fingers that curl into claws." "I have." As a father, Hayashi could only give answers that might help speed his daughter's recovery and let the medicine man go to work. "Do you know the cause?" After a brief pause, the doctor answered, "See these photographs here? Fingers, weak muscles, twisted limbs. I know you're not one to be peeved at this sort of thing, Hayashi." He nodded. The doctor was right. All the victims have the same kind of diet. Fish or shellfish. Don't take my word for it, he stroked his chin. But I think the factory over there might be suspect. Heavy metal poisoning. Akane is one of the lighter cases, but it'll be better if she doesn't eat fish from the Minamata area. Are you sure it's the fault of the factory? 70 to 80%. Yeah. Hayashi immediately knew what to do. A father's love lies above heavens and earth. Is he gonna bomb the factory? Competent at incompetence. Kodaira scanned the letter Tachi had given him. It was printed on the same stiff and sturdy paper that all high-ranking offices of the Empire used, and the seal of the Imperial Japanese Army was stamped in shimmering gold at the top. It did, however, lack any of the precision folds that often crossed the letters, suggesting it had been sent in a large envelope, like with other files. Tachi, however, had only felt the need to bring this one. Kodaira sat close to his desk, carefully studying each word, while Tachi stood silently in front of him. Finally, he lowered the paper to his desk and looked up. "Awfully convenient, don't you think?" Kodaira said. "To say the least. I mean, here we have a suspect, a confirmed murderer, mind you, who was actively deployed in the IJA, and under their supervision he was given a crash course in explosives and then used his newfound skills in an attempt to cover his crime. And that attempt specifically involved the use of a military-issue grenade. But despite all that, the army can't seem to find anything to suggest their inventories are inaccurate or have been tampered with in even the slightest way, and they seem to have no interest in entertaining the possibility that Takahara gained access to restricted military material in another way. It seems to me that either the quality of the army records has dropped substantially since I last checked, or somebody is afraid of self-reflection." Tachi nodded grimly in reply, brow furrowed. Kodaira looked back down at the letter. "And, you know, in my experience, letters like these are the paper equivalent of a door being slammed in your face. Which is why," Tachi said, swiping the letter from the senior detective's desk, "we are going to have to move fast if we want to get our foot in it. Military precision, my ass." Okay, agency upgrade. Passive defense is done. Last level. A gatekeeper. For Hayashi, today should have been another day of work. As a soldier turned fisherman, he did not have much time for holidays or vacations. Takeshi and Akane depended on him, and at the very least, he would see them complete their educations. To his children, as to his state, duty was everything. In the bright glare of the morning sunlight near the factory's opening hours, as the winds were blowing out to the sea, he and the local veterans stood by its gate, preventing anyone from leaving and entering. When the police came to dissuade them, they brandished their rifles and machetes, rendered no less dull nor deadly by the years spent in unuse. When the police threatened to evict them forcibly from the premises, they fired a few warning shots. Finally, as a last resort, the police sent a friend of Hayashi's, a local bar owner, to meet with him. From a distance he looked ridiculous, the skin and complexion of a man unused to exertions happening under the sunlight, much less in the early morning. "Hayashi," the bar owner said, "have you gone mad? Have you cracked? If you stand down now, they'll let you go. You're a veteran, Hayashi, and they respect that." "Not enough," Hayashi said. "Apparently me and the boys here have only one condition, a meeting with any official. Scratch that. Prefectural officials. I need someone who can do something regarding this." He pointed his chin at the factory. "This monstrosity. That's all. I'll stand down once I know who I'm talking to." By the midday, the news had spread across the country. In the evening, it would reach the ears of Prime Minister Ino. A new scandal. Okay, so this is not happening in the past, this is happening in the present. Okay, so that's a separate story. An army with a secret. Detective Kodaira and Detective Tachi stood just beyond the edge of the chief's detective's desk. On the other side of the polished plateau, the chief sat preying at the report Kodaira had handed him shortly after they walked into the room. His wire-frame glasses set low on his nose, and he carefully examined the work of his subordinates line by line. The office was still, the silence only interrupted by the occasional rustling of the paper as the chief turned the page. Finally, the chief detective brought his gaze from the papers on his desk up to meet the eyes of the two men before him. "Are you certain?" he asked. Tachi opened his mouth to reply, but Kodaira beat him to it. "Absolutely, sir," he said firmly. "The evidence we have compiled based on the profile of Takahara simply cannot be dismissed as circumstantial. Every indication suggests that Takahara's motivations were either facilitated by some personnel from the army or made feasible by some failure within its systems. Regardless, the generally poor cooperation shown by the IRA GS combined with the almost pathological insufficient maintenance of records should provide more than enough grounds to justify a reorientation of the investigation towards a military administration." As he finished, the chief flicked his hard gaze over towards Tachi. "And you?" "Couldn't have said it better myself, sir," Tachi replied quickly. "Well then," said the chief, sliding the report back into its folder. "Get to it. The investigation turns to the army." Okay. See what's gonna happen then. Okay, just one more point of political power is needed. And we can do the... Where is it? Encourage inter-service war games. Okay, so paranoia is down to 28.5%. Okay, we have 80% support from the Japanese Navy. Should the IJA and IJN not be approximately in equal favor of the current paranoia increase? Okay, so we now need to increase the support from Japanese Army. Which one would be the best? Decrease the budget to move the office. Well, I guess this one is best. Promote officers. That one gives us 10 support and lowers this one. So we would have 55 and 75. And the next one would be 65, 65. No, 65, 70. A little bit of paranoia. It's gonna consume a lot of army experience. But we can do it. And can we increase the budget as well? No, that costs political power. Demote officers. That... Okay, 5 Navy experience. IGN support of us. Okay, so now it's 60 to 65. Okay, that is much better. Paranoia is 41%, so we can effectively lower it if we go with inter-service training program next. Cool, so we dealt with that. That is good news. A quandary. Every day Takeda drove Prime Minister Ino to his office in the National Diet. On their way there, they passed the crowds of people going to work on foot, ready to earn their living. The wooden innards of Tokyo appeared here and there, but they mostly saw only the stony modern facades of the finance and commercial office complexes. Ino, Takeda said to Ino, have you decided what to do with the... Takeda's voice died off as he tried to recollect the pivotal name. Minamata veteran? He's everywhere in the news nowadays. Seemed like trouble. The Prime Minister reclined in his seat at the back of the car, deep in thought. Takeda, Ino said. It had slipped my mind earlier. Thank you for reminding me. After a moment and several avenues, Takeda spoke. You know, Ino, my father is a veteran. Fought in China and everything. If he knew that some bigwig corporation had put chemicals in my water, he would be enraged in the same way as a Minamata person. Takeda adjusted the rearview mirror as they stopped by a traffic light. I sympathize, is all. You're not usually this talkative. Did you find what the man did righteous? No, Takeda said, stammering. I just found him understandable, coming from a veteran's family. In a lower voice he continued. When I was little, my father would usually wake up screaming. Now he just sits on the veranda, under the leaves, his eyes blank. He felt as if his country had left him behind. When they reached the diet building, Ino got out of the car and addressed his chauffeur. The Minamata veteran might have a point. I appreciate your advice, Takeda. A disappearance. I think the Minamata veteran might have a point is a better choice here, but we don't really know what the effects of that choice gonna be, so... Squaring up. The investigation as a whole had grown thoroughly tired of their mostly one-sided conversation... the investigation as a whole had grown thoroughly tired of their mostly one-sided conversations with the army. The process of contacting the correct office, requesting the correct forum, and gleaning a reply from more in common with pulling teeth than pulling records. Given most of the divisions were trained in desk work and not dentistry, their collective patience for the process evaporated quickly. As a result, the two lead detectives, Kodaira and Tachi, conspired with the chief to come up with a strategy to break the bureaucratic gridlock. Tachi proposed a direct route. He maintained that the army could not waver or slink away from such serious administrative failings if they were brought out into the light. Escalating the issue to the higher echelons of army command would force a response out of necessity. They would tolerate such conduct even less than the investigation could. What they needed to demand, Tachi maintained, was accountability. Kodaira, on the other hand, pushed for an indirect, roundabout approach. He argued that they would never get what they needed from the army by operating under the impression that they were on even ground, because they clearly were not. Instead, they should go around the army, in a sense, direct the correct agency or organization towards the existing evidence of mismanagement, and the secrets would come spilling out on their own accord. As each made their case, the chief deliberated over the two propositions carefully before halting the debate with his decision. Go behind their backs. I don't think that escalating it to the army chiefs will lead to anything else other than them covering everything up. A proper thing. Have you handled the matter? Ino said to the receiver. I want to see that factory closed tomorrow. No operation would resume, no nothing. If I found out that the veteran is still there, the deal is off. I cannot protect you from the media backlash that you would have to handle yourself. I understand, Ino, the voice over the phone said, belonging to a prominent tycoon who owned the Hiso Corporation. I must say that this is the most uncharacteristic of you. With so much power in your hands, the Toko, the Kenpetai, it would have been far easier to handle this matter discreetly. Still, I would not complain. The Chisa Corporation would be more than happy to receive compensation over the government's requisition of its facilities in Minamata. The voice paused as if to touch on a prominent point. If I may ask, when will the transfer be? Today, tomorrow, next week, I don't know. I'll get there, I'm sure, as soon as I can clear the waves. The usual stuff. One cannot be too careful nowadays. Too many eyes watching from the shadows. The independents, the media, everything is a right mess over here. I admire your discretion, Now, if you will excuse me, my timetable awaits. The business of conducting business. A sigh. Farewell. Killing two birds with one stone. So did we buy the factory so that it won't poison the water anymore? Hopefully. Kind of like that. Okay, real GDP growth, surplus, everything is staying the same, which is pretty good. How's the production looking? Do we still miss helicopters? Or yeah, one last helicopter is missing. So that one is going to be done probably today. No, tomorrow. Bored to death. And then we will start building a stockpile, which is great. The anti-air and self-propelled artillery, we have one piece of each. That's great. But we've upgraded all of our APCs and AFVs, not APCs, AFVs and main battle tanks, so at least that's good. Actually, no. Just 833 needs to be upgraded. But I'm not sure what the stockpile is there. Logistics. Where do we have the tanks? Type 26A. Okay, and the main battle tank. Okay, so we are actually getting rid of the old Type 14 Chihuahua, which is way worse. Defense 14, yep. No, it's not that bad. Armor lower by about 30. Piercing by about 30. Okay, reliability is poor. 68.4%. But breakthrough defense, okay, it's not that bad. Bored to death. Kodaira's strategy required a good deal of planning and careful consideration before it could be set in motion. The goal was to locate and coordinate with an organization that was legally and functionally separate from the army's bureaucracy, but still carried enough authority to force it into compliance. This proved to be difficult due to the strength of the army's representation in the Imperial government. Their political presence was commanded by the Army Ministry, which represented them on the Imperial Cabinet, while their operation and conduct were governed by the IJA General Staff Office. There was only one office, according to Kodaira, that could possibly face this challenge and have ever a minuscule chance of success. The Imperial Board of Audit. Okay, so we chose poorly. I chose the tax office. This one was a better choice. The board existed in a strange space within Japanese administration, ostensibly independent of both the National Diet and various ministries. The imperial auditors were directly subordinate to only the emperor himself. On paper, this portrayed the board as being above all in a certain sense, a manifestation of the divine will of the emperor, endowed with the responsibility to ensure the loyalty of officers of the empire. It's actually a pretty interesting concept when you think about it. In practice, however, the emperor had little interest in managing the glorified accountants, and so the board had fallen under the de facto collective authority of the cabinet. This has left the board in a sore state, perpetually ignored or forgotten, save for the occasional politicized busy work. It's so weird. I would have expected these guys to be, used as a hammer whenever you need them. Keeping them in sharp state would be more than welcome for the cabinet. So the investigation's plea for assistance was received as a welcome change of pace. Indeed, even though they were only provided the vaguest details of why the help was needed and what the objective was, the board's representatives were eager to carry out their original charge, doubly so when they learned the objects of scrutiny were within the cabinet itself. All for the good of empire, of course. Okay, so we finished the 50s artillery upgrade. What did it do? Artillery soft attack, support artillery soft attack. Okay, this one is unfortunately way ahead of time. I don't think these ones are anywhere close. So let's get the 50s anti-air armament upgrade. So anti-air +5 and air attack of the support companies +3%. While our anti-air cannons are powerful, it has grown quite difficult to effectively land hits on an enemy jet. Improved sights will be added to the weaponry, as well as a radar scanner and improved announcement to do maximum damage. Okay, we're very close to the next recalculation, and hopefully we're gonna see a drop to something like 99.8% on 1st of October. That would be a great end to the episode. Tropical storm Harriet hits Thailand. A severe tropical cyclone has struck southwestern Thailand, claiming approximately 700 lives and displacing tens of thousands in the region. The storm, named Harriet, first formed in the South China Sea, moving west on its ocean voyage. The storm then made landfall in Nakhon Si Thammarat province on the southeastern Thai coast, crossing the peninsula and entering the Indian Ocean. In Harriet's wake, hundreds are dead and tens of thousands have been made homeless. The storm struck at a difficult time for the Thai government, who had committed significant investments into the region as part of their economic development plans. A rescue and a reconstruction effort begins. Many fear that the damage Harriet has inflicted will remain with Thailand for decades, however. Have 10 years been destroyed in 24 hours? Nice! 99.5! Okay, that's even more successful than I expected it to be. And look, the debt servicing has dropped to 3.89 billion now. Amazing. Real GDP growth keeps increasing. Yearly surplus of the budget is also good. So as our GDP increases, we are becoming better and better. And now let me see. Yep, our economy is now bigger than the one of the United States of America. So we are the biggest nation, I guess, when it comes to economy in the world. No, actually no. So is this total sphere? Yeah, I guess this is about the sphere GDP. So our sphere GDP is 396 billion. I don't know what the Gross-Germanisches Reich or the American one would be. So what do they have? Do they have a sphere? Oh yeah, the OFN. Okay, so they have the OFN, and Germany has the Einheitspact. But our economy of the co-prosperity sphere is the biggest now, so that is great. We lost some production units though, but that doesn't really matter. So all is good in our territory, and we're getting closer to figuring out what this whole thing with the army is. So let's hope it's gonna continue this way in the next episode, that we're gonna get closer to it, and that we're gonna drop to 98.9 in the debt compared to the GDP during next month. That would be amazing. So see you in the next episode.